Hey, it's Dr. Nick, and I wanted to talk about profit because it's so important in your business. It's a core foundational skill of being an entrepreneur. So let's get stuck into a couple of issues I wanted to raise that I've seen in my coaching and in my own life, my own business, that you might find helpful and useful. So let's categorize people into kind of two groups. You've got people who are kind of just naturally profit focused. The only reason they're in business is to make a profit. And they want to make the most profit they can. So maybe they don't even really care what product they sell as long as it's making money. And so these kind of people may just show up and they go, right, I need to research what is the gap in the market, what's selling hot right now, what do people need, how can I do that, and how many sales are we making? And it is a focus of theirs. Now, having worked with a lot of people like this, I've always been really inspired and impressed by just how much money they can make by being profit focused, by that being their highest priority. What's the bottom line here? We're spending money, but are we making money? Every day, taking a look at the profit every single day. It's an incredible skill to have and makes those people very wealthy. Interestingly enough, and this is a generalization, having spoken to a lot of people like that, and I'm talking, I just came out of a group where we were coaching about 700 people who were in e-commerce, and having spoken to a lot of those people, a few of them were passionate about what it was they were selling, but a lot felt kind of meh about it, right? They were enjoying the money they were making, but they weren't really feeling that kind of sense of fulfillment and meaning that a lot of people look for in life. Especially when money's going well, one of the first things your mind then turns to is like, but am I happy doing this? Okay. So a lot of those people are looking to either sell their business or they build their business up and then they burn it back down to the ground again. Of course, I'm generalizing here, but there was that kind of element to it. Now, the other type of person is the person who really isn't naturally profit focused. And I actually put myself in that category because money isn't what really drives me. It never has. And that's got a lot to do with upbringing and all that sort of stuff. But I think naturally too, I love helping people and I love learning. I love improving my skills. And then I love sharing what I've learned with other people. That's what I tend to focus on. So if I have spare time in my hands, you'll find that I'll tend to want to learn and improve my knowledge and my skills, which is why I've got so many degrees and so many certifications. I'm just a continuous life learner. I love it. It edifies me. I enjoy it. I find I do it naturally. And you find that a lot of people in what you might call a vocation, that's like a professional of some type, professional consultant, a health professional or a legal professional or a finance professional, they're driven more by the meaning that they have and the impact that they're having on people's lives. And so for them, often profit isn't a focus at all. It's just a necessary evil. Sometimes they have to make profit in order to do the thing that they love doing. But then a lot of those people too find, well, hang on, would it be good to have even more profit? I would like to enjoy more money. How do I do that and also maintain my integrity, my authenticity? How do I not sell out and become just profit driven? And so that's why I want to talk about being profit focused or having a profit focus as opposed to being profit driven, because you can be impact driven, you can be purpose driven, but still have a focus on profit. Because if you don't focus on profit, you won't make that money. And having worked with the people who are profit driven and profit focused, therefore, they just turn the money around, and it gives them a lot of freedom and a lot of opportunity to have because of the money that's coming through. So how do you do this? Well, it really does, again, come back to that whole thing about being profit focused, understanding that your business needs to make that profit. And one of the easiest ways to do it is to really say, look, how much profit do I want to make in a year, for example, and breaking that down into monthly, how much do I need to make per month then? And then breaking that down into weekly, how much do I need to make per week? And then you can even break that down to daily. How much money do I need to make per day? Now, while that's a typical approach and can be very useful, especially if you have a business model that relies on daily sales, then that's what you need to do, because you can break it down into the steps and you might find out, okay, well, really that means I need to make 7 sales a day, or I need to make 15 sales a day. This is what my daily task is. If I do this process every day, if I make those average of 15 sales a day or 7 sales a day or whatever it happens to be, I will automatically then hit my yearly targets, which means I'm going to make my yearly profit. And then all you really need to do to be profit focused is to at least check in weekly and say, what was my average sales this week? Daily would be even better. It's just asking, what were my sales? And if it's not something that comes natural, you just need to build a habit around it. You need to build a behavior into your business around doing that. Or at least have someone else in your business who's responsible for asking that question. Because sometimes all it really requires is to ask that question to understand if you're hitting your targets or whether you're not, whether you've lost traction, in order to just refocus and re-energize that particular part of the business. And it's just really important. If you do that, it will be the world of difference to your business. Now, having said that, let's talk about a different model entirely. When I first began to make money online in a way that completely freed me of traditional business, it was because of what you might call the harvest model, or some people call it the launch model. And that is where you have 1 or 2 times during the year where you make all of your sales, and then you don't really need to be making sales for the rest of the year. Now, this is a very attractive model, and I loved it. I still love it. And the reason I call it the harvest model is because it's like a farmer. So you might have a farmer who is going to prepare the paddocks or the fallow or whatever you want to call it for a period of time during the year. Then they sow the seed, and then they wait for it to grow, and then they harvest, and then they sell, and they make all of their money for the year from that one harvest. And what they might do is have some other form of harvest. It might be livestock or something like that they also do, and they alternate between the two. So they might have one big harvest, and then 6 months later have another big income come in. And that's the way they make their income. And it means that they're not having to hustle every single day to make those sales, which is good. The downside is if something goes wrong with the harvest, like just say you're expecting to bring in $200,000 in 1 month, and it doesn't happen, you only bring in $20,000 in 1 month, something goes wrong, then again, you're putting your business at risk that way. Okay, so whichever way, you need to bring money in, whether you're doing a kind of a harvest model or whether you're doing a daily hustle model for sales. I've done both, and both things have happened. I've been in a situation where I was expecting a big payday to happen, a big launch to happen, and then for a number of reasons it didn't happen, and that was a shock to the system. The business didn't like that at all. It needed that cash flow, was relying on that cash flow to come in. And the same thing too, I've been in a situation just recently, we were spending about $2,000 a day on advertising, and we created a business, or the business structure itself was a very expensive business to run. And the situation became that because of the expenses and the resources and the staff that were then part of this business, we actually had to make daily sales, because if we didn't make daily sales, it would get to the end of the month and we'd actually be in the hole. Okay? Now that's because the business itself was just consuming revenue. It was consuming expenses, all right? And it was going to consume those expenses whether or not we made sales. Whereas in another business model that when I first started out, in fact, it was about the first 7 years of my time online, I had very, very few expenses. My profit margin was about 95%, okay, because it was all digital. And what that meant was that I didn't have a lot of expenses, and so I didn't need to be looking every day going, far out, if I don't make this money today, I'm going to be screwed. So it depends what business you've got. Obviously, you might be in a business right now and the expenses are what they are, and you do have those responsibilities and you have to make ends meet on those. Or maybe you're thinking about starting a business right now and you're looking for some guidance to wonder about, well, what's the best business model? Because businesses can sound really amazing, but the rubber hits the road when it really comes down to, are you needing to make sales every day, and how reliable is that system? Like your customer creation system, right? Some people call it a sales system. I prefer customer creation. Is that humming along? Like, is it working? Can you rely on it? What are the weaknesses or threats against that? Let's just say you rely on sales every single day and it all sounds perfect, but you're relying on Facebook advertising to make those sales every single day, and your account gets shut down. It's happened to me. It happened to us. The account got shut down and we lost almost a month's worth of revenue while we had to try and get the account back up again. Right, because you're relying on just this one source of sales coming through, and you need them to happen. Otherwise, the business is going to be in deep shit. So when you're thinking about what kind of business model you want to be in, it makes good sense to look at these things and go, what do I want to create for myself? What kind of stress do I want to place myself under? Maybe you love the daily hustle and you're awesome at it and you just want to keep on doing that and you're fine doing that. Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't want to be in that situation. Okay. In which case, having a kind of launch model where you bring in a large amount of money just a few times a year just gives you the breathing space in between each of those times in order to kind of refresh, right? So you don't have to do that daily hustle. Now, let me give you an example of that. I spent 10 years lecturing at university, and the way universities work, of course, is they have one intake per year. They have a whole lot of students show up, and the very first day they show up, all those students are billed for the year worth of tuition. Now, whether they pay up front or in Australia, for example, it just gets added to their to their student loan debt. But nevertheless, the university is paid in one lump sum, and there's like an enrollment, and it all has to happen at a certain period of time. And then if you miss the cutoff date, that's it. You don't get to go in, right? And then the university goes about delivering on their promise, right? They teach out the students until the next semester happens, and there might be another enrollment period, and a whole lot of students join, and a whole lot of money comes in, and then there's a period of service delivery and teaching and tuition over that period of time. And so having come from that background, it was just totally natural for me to follow that type of approach. What you need to do, of course, is make sure that each time you have an enrollment period, that there is a demand for people who then want to enroll and do your course. And that's the issue, that's the system, the customer creation or the client creation system that you need to put in place. And so moving forward for me, where I've landed now after a decade of doing this, and having experienced both daily sales model and the launch or the harvest model, I actually have come to a place where my business model is a hybrid of both of those. But the way it works is this: my main income, the thing that fuels me, are the harvests that I have throughout the year, because that brings in a lump sum of money that gives me the breathing space. It gives me the chill factor. It gives me the lifestyle to be able to say, you know what, I don't have to worry about sales tomorrow, or actually for this week. I can just take this week off. I don't have to be glued to my phone making sure that we made daily sales. I didn't enjoy that, right? I did not enjoy that at all, okay? So it gives me that enjoyment, that lifestyle. And then I can focus on delivery, which is what I love to do. I can bring in a whole lot of people at once, and then I can deliver and have an impact on them and make them my focus, okay? Because I'm very, very client-focused and client-driven. I'm purpose-driven. That is what I do, and so that's when I'm at my best. But then what I'm doing is also building a regular sales mechanism that does bring in sales on a regular basis. So there is another form of cash flow coming into the business. But because I've got the harvest model or the launch model built in as well, then I'm not glued to the phone. If sales are down one week, it doesn't matter. I'm not stressed about it. I'm not lying awake at night with a big stress about if we don't bring in $10,000 tomorrow, we're screwed. Okay, and I'm still going to have to pay my staff because I've created this expense machine that I need to feed. Okay, so with the business model as well, I'm not building a big expense machine that just sucks money. I'm keeping all of those expenses really, really reduced. And again, that's because I've been in the place where the expenses are there and they can't really be reduced. And then that adds a whole lot of pressure that just makes life not enjoyable, and it's not the business model for me. It is for some people. They don't mind it at all. Or the particular business they're in, there is no way to reduce those expenses. But for consultants and coaches and people who are service-driven, professionals who can have an impact on people's lives, it really is a great business model to be able to combine the two. And that's what I'm going to be talking quite a lot more about, and you're going to see me doing as I go forward, is just how this business model works and why it's so attractive from a financial wealth creation point of view, but also just from a mental health and enjoyment and chill factor point of view. So the kind of message of all of this, to bring it all down to, is no matter what business model you choose, you don't need to be profit driven, but you do need to be profit focused. It is a core skill of an entrepreneur to be profit focused, because when you focus on profit, that's when profit will happen. And you need profit in your business for it to be exciting and fun and for you to reap the benefits of the impact and the results and the effort and the work that you're putting in. So, hey, I hope you liked this video. If you did, I'd love to see some comments below, see what you had any aha moments yourself about what you're thinking of doing. And I'll catch you in another video soon.